visionary, an entrepreneur, a business owner. You want to make money from your passion and create the freedom that you've dreamed of. But it's slow. The income is slow, the impact is slow, and the freedom is slow. And here's the kicker. You've actually never been busier. You're working longer than ever, burning through daylight, and your family have forgotten who you are. You're tired and frustrated and you can't even sleep well at night. The business just feels so heavy, and all you ever wanted to do was just make the money you want to make doing the things that you want to do. And that's where I come in. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Storme, and I'm the host of the Business Acceleration Podcast, where we shift your business from heavy to light, time poor to time abundant, and from income lack to income growth. We're going to achieve it together with my 20 years experience as a psychologist, helping people just like you to break through their barriers. And we're going to throw in a little of the woo as well. So thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hi guys, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Business Acceleration Podcast. I'm super excited today because we have the beautiful Jessica Holcomb joining us. Jessica, welcome.
Hello.
Now, Jessica, can you please tell us a little bit about who you are, who you help, and how you help them?
Yes, so I am a real estate broker. I own a brokerage called White Glove Realty. And I also just launched a design company last year called White Glove Design. And so we have enjoyed helping families buy and sell real estate I've been doing this since 1999. I fell into it when I was a baby. So, so that's what I do.
Okay. And so when you say you fell into it, do you mean were your parents involved in real estate?
No.
And so it was just a natural...
Oh, no. I grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and my family was, farmers. And as you know, I'm sure you've heard in the news that a lot of farmers were struggling financially. And my father was, he inherited the farm, and he decided to go back to school and get his degree in hydraulics, which brought us to Texas. And so I moved here when I was 14. And we didn't really have that much, And so as soon as I turned 16, I was a teenager wanting everything, magazines and clothes and makeup. And, my dad told me something that really stuck with me. And he said, that's the beautiful thing about living in America. So you can work as hard as you want and make as much money as you want, so you can buy whatever you want. And that really stuck with me. And so I went to work as soon as I could. At 16, I moved out. At 18, I waited tables, leased apartments, and then I just I saw an ad in the Green Sheet, and I got lucky. And it was one of those fate things, because I was only 21 years old, and I don't think this, lady what meant to hire somebody so young for new home sales. But she actually told me a story when she hired me. She said, Jessica, I called another guy to hire him. And as soon as he answered the phone, I had this feeling that I needed to call you and hire you. So out of the blue, she's calling me, are you still available? And I said, of course, and she told me that she just had this gut feeling that she needed to hire me. And then I sold a house on the third day, and I fell in love with the business, and I just loved helping families, And so I sold new construction for 8 years. And then I got my residential real estate license after that. And I worked for Keller Williams. And then I started a team and grew from there. People were getting confused after I branded my team as White Glove Realty. And they were wondering, who's the broker? Is it Keller Williams or is it White Glove Realty? So I decided to get my broker's license and open my own boutique brokerage. So that happened about 4 years ago. And so we've been growing a team. I have about 11 agents, and it's been a wonderful process. However, shifting from a salesperson to a business owner is a whole nother thing, because you have to wear a lot of hats being a salesperson. But then when you become a broker, it's owning a business. It's all the numbers. It's running your books and keeping everything straight, and hiring and recruiting and marketing. So it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun to me, because every day is different and new, and you just get to wake up and keep on growing everything and helping people around you.
Yeah, that's what a beautiful story. And I love hearing all those different stages that your business has gone through. I can really relate to what you're saying as well about going from a sales role to a brokerage role. The parallel that I have is that I went from being a psychologist to being a psychologist, private practice owner. And so I went from just doing the face-to-face work with the clients and not doing any marketing and not doing numbers and anything, no email lists and nothing like that. It's such a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you make that shift, you're going to experience a little bit of a downturn in your income, because when you shift your focus from your regular work, you're going to have a little bit of a dip, but don't be scared, because as long as you keep focusing on the business and the work, the money will come later. It's just, especially when you make your first hire, if you hire an assistant, that money is going out to pay for your assistant, but you're not necessarily making the additional cash flow yet, so it's kind of like a little bit of a faith thing. You have to have a little faith, and then you have to have some good systems in place to keep it consistent, Yeah,
absolutely. At what point did you realize that you needed to make your first hire?
Well, I was kind of forced into it, because all of us as, business owners, we're kind of like, oh, we can do it all by yourself and nobody can do it better than me. And I don't want to give up control. And I was married at the time, and my husband wanted to move out of the city to Austin. And I was, really not wanting to throw away 10 years of work that I've done. So I kind of was forced into building a team. So I became the back-end admin support. And then I hired an assistant and some buyer agents to show property for me while I was out of town. And then I would drive in town, 2 or 3 times a week, take listing appointments and go to closings and then go back. And I just did that for a couple of years. And it was tough, but I look at it as a blessing, because it helped me to move past that fear of growing, because all of us want to grow and we want to get there, but we don't want to take the steps to do that because it's going to be change and nobody likes change, and so you're like, ooh, I don't know, I'm going to have to work more, or work differently,
Was it, were you nervous hiring your first person?
Absolutely. Because you have to have a lot of trust, and you're giving people all of your, inside information, and you have to trust that these people are going to hold all of your standards up as high as you do, as far as what they're doing and the work that they're putting out, and then you don't want to be a micromanager, but, it's just, you have to have a lot of faith, and trust, and, recruiting is another whole thing that you have to kind of learn too, and I made the mistake of hiring for the person instead of the position. And, I actually just told my sister the other day, we were having a meeting. She actually works on my team too. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to hire friends anymore, because it's just not, it doesn't ever end well, and then you end up without a friend, because here you are, a leader, and you're giving somebody an opportunity, and you're saying, hey, I have this work that needs to be done, and then let's say the work can't be done for whatever reason, and then the leader's like, hey, I need this work done. And then all of a sudden you're the bad guy, because you're holding somebody accountable for the work that you hired them to do, and then friends, of course, take everything more personally, than a normal just business associate. They're like, oh yeah, I should get fired. I didn't do the work, but a friend gets their feelings hurt, So I really kind of learned that lesson because, life is too short to lose good friends. Right. And in this business, you end up making friends with a lot of people, but at the end of the day, you should always hire for the position because it's not fair to you or that person to give them an opportunity that it's not going to work for either one of you. So why do it, just because it's convenient, maybe, but I think really focusing on hiring exactly for that position, making sure that person has the skill set and has the mindset, and basically can do the work, sorry about that.
But it's so interesting because, something similar happened to a lady that I work with as well. And I think it's a really common thing, actually, is that when we're starting to grow our business, we do, we like to work with our friends and family even, and getting our husbands involved sometimes. And but it blurs these boundaries and it makes it just so hard and to manage them because, you don't want to upset them or offend them because there is that personal relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's sad for you because you're like, well, I just was trying to help you, but I need the work done, so.
And did you find too that when you started recruiting and they weren't friends, they were like people from out there in the world, and you interviewed them and you thought that they had the capacity or the ability to do the job, did you then realize, oh my goodness, I need systems and processes and I need an onboarding routine and things like that?
Well, I had already created some systems in place. I learned really quick that I didn't like saying the same things over and over again. So, and I had some wonderful training on that early on. So I've actually created like a Google Drive of videos, and I just, like how we're doing Zoom, I'll create a video here and I'll record it and I pop it into the drive and I never have to say it again, and it's kind of an ongoing training thing too, not only for onboarding, but training your team. And anytime you learn something new, you want to, of course, share it with your people, and so it's always a good thing to get in the habit of recording it in some way so that it's there and accessible again easily for every new hire that comes on board.
Absolutely. That's such a great idea. We use Trello and that seems to work for us. We can organise all the cards into different things and invite them to be a member on the card. So whenever a new recruit starts with my business, I give them the log on to Trello and I say, here you go, this is everything and I want you just to familiarise yourself with this and go from there. But how did you go about the process of actually building your team?
Well, okay. So you want to make a list of the things that you don't like to do or that you're obviously not good at. So for me, it's funny because my team, I take their input very seriously. So I asked everybody, what suggestions do you have for me? Who do we need to support our team more? And almost all of them were like, we need a bookkeeper, because they didn't want to wait for me to do the bookkeeping work, which is actually one of the jobs that I absolutely despise. I don't want to be a bookkeeper, but you have to be, and so that's something that I'm going to be focusing on this year. But in the beginning, you want to look at what are your biggest income producing activities that only you can do. And that's what you have to do. And then all of the rest can be delegated out. You don't have to do, all of the writing and the letters and the mailers and even the social media upkeep. I actually recently added on an assistant where she's doing such a great job for us on social media. And I basically just give her free reign, and you just kind of have to let go on that too. and she creates things and sends it out. If I ever see anything where it doesn't align, I just tell her to take it down. Oh, well, it's only happened once, but overall, she does a really great job. And so you kind of have to give the people the chance to do the work so that you can be freed up to do what you are designed to do, because all of us as leaders of our businesses, there are only things that we can do, that probably you won't be able to hire out, for a while. And I read this great book called Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by Gary Keller. And he talks about building teams and businesses, and he really treats it like a business. And one of the things that it talks about in that book is that, each of us are the drive for our businesses. Like you and I, if we weren't here, our business wouldn't be here. But once you grow your business to a brand, something like Office Max or Office Depot, or something where that brand takes over, and then the brand is the drive, and so now any manager can run an Office Max or an Office Depot, and it doesn't matter if Jessica, the owner, is the manager, you see. So you want to think about your end game. Do you want to build your business to just be small and quaint and for you, or do you want to build a business that can create a legacy where it creates and builds its own drive to where it could maybe benefit your babies, in the future? I don't know. So.
Yeah. And how did you go to, I guess, you mentioned earlier about transitioning from working and turning your business into a new brand, White Glove Realty. Was that difficult, or how did you go about that? What was the idea behind doing that? And what was that transition like for you?
So I had a lot of sales and training, and when I worked for the builder, they would drop $1,000 a head on each salesperson and train us on all the, top training. I've seen Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar in person, like they would send us to these seminars and give us a lot of training. And one of the things that I learned is that when you want to launch something, you want to have it something cohesive, something short and simple that is memorable, that people can just remember it, right? And so when I switched from just Jessica Holcomb Realtor to White Glove Realty Group, I knew that I needed to create a brand and marketing to go along with it, So we sat down, we decided we wanted White Glove Realty. We liked the vintage vibe of the white gloves with the ladies in the 50s, and it's kind of an oxymoron because they didn't really work. They wore white gloves. They stayed white, like women weren't even allowed to work yet that much. So, it was interesting because, and then my mom, I asked her if she would bake homemade pies for our clients. And so that kind of went along with the whole vintage thing. So we used that as a closing gift. And then I created a whole entire marketing plan for the next year. So you sit down and you're like, okay, what am I going to send out for January, February, March, April? And you just go through the whole year. And we had a creative agency help us develop different marketing pieces for the whole year that aligned with the brand. And so that whole first year, we just focused on branding, and putting out all of the marketing to where within a year, people were confusing my little team with a whole entire brokerage that's been around for years. So I was ecstatic. I was like, what? Okay, let me get my broker's license. I will go ahead and open it right up. So it worked really well. And it was interesting because I branded the team, and then within 2 years, we opened the brokerage. And when I had my grand opening, all of my clients and even my colleagues did not realize that I was not a broker yet. They thought I was having a grand opening for the office location. And I was like, no, we're a brokerage now. So it was great because we did launch so much marketing for that full first year that it was just out there, you know, and there was no question as to who we were. You know, we were in the magazines. We kind of touched on every little spot that we could within our budget, you know. So whatever we could do for free, that was done. And we would do full page ads and half page ads and, you know, in our local home magazines, you know, and then, of course, all of our signage matched. Our logo matched everything. Like we created a really strong logo that went on everything, you know. And so then it became a thing where people just knew the look, you know. And that's the thing about branding. If you look at Marketing 101, somebody has to see a piece at least 7 times before they're going to take you seriously. And so making a piece that looks red and then making it look blue and then making it look gray next time isn't going to help you. Yes, it's really creative and fun. However, is that going to catch your audience's attention to where they're going to remember you? So it's okay to use the same piece 7 times, you know, it's actually going to work in your favor. And then you can get a little creative with it slowly, but you want to be consistent at the same time, you know, using the same pieces.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And, you know, as a business owner yourself, how do you handle adversity and doubt?
Okay, so you know, I've had some situations in the past where, you know, things would come up, you know, when I first started my team, you know, some of my employees, not employees, but subcontractors, they all ganged up and they were like, oh, we need to make more money. And they all sent an email at the same time, you know, and of course that's going to hurt your feelings because you're thinking, what? I'm working so hard for you and you're giving this to me in return. You know, and I do a lot of reading of other leaders because the whole saying, you know, great leaders are behind closed doors and, you know, it's lonely at the top and stuff like that. Sometimes it actually rings true, you know, because you're in this business to make it succeed. You're in this business to help everyone on your team, you know, and then but they don't see the big picture sometimes, you know, or things didn't go as planned. And so I've always gone to reading, basically, you know, like positive leadership books to help remotivate me to stay on track, you know. And if something really bad happens, I'll allow myself a 5-minute funeral where you basically cry, you let it out, and then you get over it, you know, but don't let it get you down for years, you know, or even months. 5 minutes is all they get. And then you need to refocus yourself. And sometimes I'll get into a negative space and I'll literally, you know, force myself to read something positive or listen to a podcast, you know, or, you know, go to something that's going to be uplifting. Also getting out into nature, going for a run or a walk or riding your bike, you know, can also kind of ground you and get you out of that, you know, overthinking state where it's the end of the universe, but it's really not, you know. You just need to clear your mind and then regroup and figure out a plan B, you know.
Yeah, I think it's one of the issues that pops up a lot, you know, especially when we're not so experienced hiring team. And, you know, we might be very good in sales or we might be very good in delivering allied health services or whatever it is we're doing. Mm-hmm. But when we have to put on our manager's hat and our business owner's hat, it's hard if you don't have that knowledge behind you and if you don't have the backing of other people. Yeah. And it's really helpful to hear how other people handle those difficult times with team because it's not always puppy dogs and rainbows. Mm-mm. And sometimes you only need one bad apple and it spoils the bunch.
Well, you know, I've really started to rely on my intuition, you know, when hiring people because And I've actually written a book on this, and it's going to launch this spring. And it kind of talks about, all of us have this inner wisdom and this inner truth that we all ignore, and I have ignored so many red flags in my life. It's affected my personal life tremendously. And, and it hasn't affected my business life that much because I think I've remained really detached emotionally from business. And so it allows the intuition to come in really clearly, and one of the things that I've noticed when you're interviewing people is that they tell on themselves, and so here's a little tip. If you ever have somebody in an interview act very passionately about something that, I am so honest, I am not a liar. Now let's just ask ourselves, would an honest person even have that run across their mind? No, because they're already honest, right? Like they don't have to say it. So if anyone's out there like saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so happy, I'm such a happy person. Happy people don't say that about themselves. I am not negative. Maybe they are negative, And so time after time, I've noted things that have happened in interviews. And then sure enough, later something comes up and it's aligned with what they were, how they were telling on themselves. So it's just so interesting because, after you have people kind of cycle through, you just start seeing patterns, and then you get smarter and you're like, okay, so this person did this. They didn't say anything. I'm going to hire them,
Yes. Sometimes it's about showing, not telling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to see what people can do, and people who are comfortable in their own skin and confident, they just get about doing things, don't they? And it's sometimes people who maybe they've been called out on a behavior or on an attitude or something like that before. They'll be the ones that say, by the way, I'm always punctual. I'm never late.
Really? Okay. Yeah, it's funny. So that's something I definitely noticed with recruiting, that you just really pay attention to what they're saying, because once you start really paying attention to their patterns, you'll see it just stands out so clear, it's like right in your face.
And so what's next for you with White Glove?
So we're looking to expand and open another office in the north side of Houston. And, we've opened this design and remodeling company because we found that we had a lot of clients that were, purchasing homes that maybe weren't perfect. They didn't really like the carpet, or they didn't like the walls paint or countertops or cabinets. And so we were already helping people kind of fix their kitchens up and their bathrooms and make the home theirs. And so we decided to open this company. And so we actually help people remodel their homes and add on additions. We're about to add on a sun porch on somebody's home. And we kind of want to make like a one-stop shop for people to come in and they can buy a home, sell a home, design a home, to sell it for a profit or to live in it, whatever they want to do. That's what we're kind of looking to do. And as far as the real estate stuff goes, and then, eventually expand to other cities, and opening just small teams in each area of max 15 people, because I just feel like, there's a lot of real estate offices that have 100 agents there, but only 20, the 80-20 rule, only 20% of them are actually working, and that's not really my focus as a broker. I would rather have small, very focused, high profitable, highly active and successful agents, all working for the same goal, for everybody to have very outstanding experience. So
that sounds really great. And what's your advice for women in business?
So my advice for women in business is to never give up. And if you feel like your goal looks really big and it kind of, gets you in this frozen state where you don't even know what to do next, take your big goal and just write every little step down that you need to do to make it happen. So for me, opening a brokerage was one of my goals. So of course I needed to pass all the classes. So I, had that number one on my list, So then every single day I would just take little bites, take a class, work a few hours, and just keep working at it and working at it. And then you're going to get it eventually if you keep focusing on it.
Such good advice. Thank you so, so much. So how can people connect with you?
You can connect with me. If you're looking at real estate stuff, we have a business page on Facebook called White Glove Realty Texas, or you can join us, ladies, at Women Owning It. We have a group on Facebook and it's amazing. There's a lot of positive tips and it's all business women in there and we're all supporting each other. So come join us at Women Owning It. I think you'll enjoy it for sure.
Thank you so much for your time today and thank you for all of your wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope that you enjoyed it and got a lot of value from it. Help me help others by sharing this podcast. And if you feel called to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, remember to let me know so that I can send you a very special thank you gift. Now go and build your dream business and I will see you next time. Bye.